Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ask the Theologian. I'll stop that. I got all the right buttons pushed now, and here I am, ready to go. And glad that you're here with us. And welcome. We'll take your biblical, theological, and worldview questions here at Snowy Day in Taos, New Mexico. And yet, snow or whatever, we are having Bible study tonight, 7 p.m., and we're starting the book of Proverbs. I am highly anticipating that this will change Christian history. Well, okay, maybe that's going a little too far. I'm highly anticipating that we're going to get into Psalms and say, I knew it wasn't just a book of things that are sometimes true. Got to be more to it than that. So that's tonight, 7 p.m. This, maybe you could call Psalms, I'll do, did I say Psalms? I mean Proverbs. Good, I did say Proverbs all along. You just never know. My brain here doesn't always do it. But maybe we will find that Proverbs is the greatest wisdom literature that has ever been written. I don't know why I'd put a maybe on that. We'll go with it. So anyway, glad you're here. If you've got a question you'd like to put live, you can use the word question, or of course you can go to asktheologian.com and put your question in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want an anonymous question, by the way, that is where you have to go because you're logged in if you put it in live, and I can see what your name is. So let's go to, let's see, we were going to start with somebody. We were going to start with somebody. You know, I noticed some questions here I missed. So I got to get to that. Like Jay, sorry about that. Did I say I was going to start with Jay or Charles? I should always write this down. But let's start with Jay, and then Charles is up next. What is the case, Jay in Tennessee says, what is the case that the angel of the Lord is the second person of the Trinity? Okay, to do this, what you've got to look, let me pull up some search software here and get it where you can see it. Okay. Now, I'll just let you see what I'm doing here. We are going to search here. We want to, of course, search the King James, the KJV. There we go. And we're going to do I think maybe I have this right. Now, we want to put quotes, the angel of the Lord. Okay. To find the 59 times we have it. Now, as you can see, many of these are going to be the same scene. Genesis 16 here. You got 4 of the 59 right there. The angel of the Lord. Now, we want exactly this phrase, the angel of the Lord. We go through, this particular one in Numbers is about the Democrats here on a great day of revival where it says the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way. And goes on through the various, again, 50, 57, 59 times, whatever it was. Now, this does not work in the New Testament. This is an Old Testament, so it's going to be less than 59 times, but it's an Old Testament rule. Now, I want to show you something else. Let's go to the same search here, but let's change the to an angel of the Lord, and bring those up. Now we have 9 times. So an angel of the Lord came there, an angel of the Lord. Now, this is going to be, some of these may be similar. Judges 6:11, let's go over here to see, notice there's Judges 6:12. So I tell you what, let's go to Biblify now and bring up Judges 6. Let's start in verse 11. And it says, there came an angel of the Lord and sat under the oak, which is at Ophrah, that pertained to Joash. His son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress and hid it from the Midianites. There came an angel of the Lord, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him. Now, do we have two angels here, or does one just speak in a general sense, and then we are told, oh wait, this is the angel of the Lord appeared to him, and said, the Lord is with thee, thou art a man of valor. Gideon said unto him, O Lord, my Lord, if the Lord be with us, then why is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us, saying, did not the Lord bring us out from Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us unto the hand of the Midianites. Now, here's where you get it. And you'll find this, all of the angel, the Lord looked upon him and said. Now, you will find enough of that pattern, probably even exclusively. I'll tell you what, Luca, we were talking yesterday about our list that we don't know where it is. Oh, he found it. Good. Of things we should study. Let's do a session on the angel of the Lord. Here's what I think we're going to find. That every context in which you find the angel of the Lord, you will see within that context, like we have here in Judges, that the Lord is there talking. So the angel of the Lord is a huge clue that we've got, as Jim says in South Carolina, Sherlock Holmes and Watson, Batman and Robin, Randy and Luca. we like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. It's elementary, my dear. Who says that, Watson or Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock says it to Watson. I'm going to start using that. Thank you, Jim. We'll go for it. So I think as we begin that investigation, that we're going to find it comes out there. So what is the case? You're asking for the case. Now, I don't think you're asking for the Greek, for the Hebrew case, the grammatical case. I think you're saying, hey, give me a robust argument that the angel of the Lord is the second person of the Trinity. And that's just part of it, but we're going to get it. So, on that, Watson, put down what we want to know is the second person of the Trinity the angel of the Lord? Vice versa, other way around, actually. Is the angel of the Lord the second person of the Trinity? Thank you for that, Jay. I appreciate it. In that good question, I see I got another one for you from you. I'll come back to that. And yet, we want to be fair and not do two in a row. So we go to Charles. Good to see you again. It's been a while, Charles. Hope you're doing well. And I'll fix that. There we go. The question first. Are these Blue Letter Bible case tense mood notations reliable, or is there something more I need to understand about Greek in this instance? I want to stop right there before we get to the actual instance. Blue Letter Bible is a very good online free search mode. Someday we'll get there with Biblify. Biblify is very good for taking and keeping notes and comparing scriptures and highlighting. We do not yet have the case tense mood search functions that are built into underlying Greek. Someday we'll get there, but Blue Letter Bible is a great place to go to it. And of course, those I happen to have Logos Bible software, the evangelical software, and I just know how to use it. So I wouldn't go out and buy it. Don't go buy Logos when you can do Blue Letter Bible free. Now, case, tense, and mood. These are three aspects of Greek language, which to some degree we have in the English and some we don't. But they are mostly elementary, my dear. Elementary. Mostly. But there are times when there are particular words or particular tenses, for example, that an interpreter does have to decide. It's very few, not nearly like English, where an interpreter almost always has to decide. But it's pretty much there. To show you how stark it is, in English, we would say things like, I was hungry, I am hungry. Now, that will determine whether it was past tense or present tense. And it's so obvious, W-A-S is spelled a lot different than A-M. Doesn't even have the same letters in it. Greek is just that obvious when it comes to it. It's like it's spelled different, and yet there's this consistent pattern. This spelling means the aorist tense, the future tense, all these various things that are given there. But there are times when that is not true. So you are right to ask, are these notations, the case tense mood notations, reliable? Now, with that, let's go to the passage in mind that Charles brings to us. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 4. I'll just read it first of all. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. Now, Charles says, I was studying 1 Timothy, looking into Strong's word studies for 1 chapter 1:4. I was shocked, he says, shocked. I was shocked to find out lying I may have a mistype there, but anyway, so find out the KJV, it says the Lion KJV. I'm not sure if that's what we mean by that. The Lion KJV, L-Y-I-N-G, translation of Greek Strong's word 3622 as edifying. Okay, he's talking about this right here. If we were to turn on the Strong's, which is not working in that verse, we would find that this word edifying right here, this is the one we're talking about, and it is, I'm sure, Greek 3622, G3622 in the Strong's Enhanced Lexicon. Edifying. Now, it goes on to say, as you know, in every other occurrence, this is translated as the noun dispensation or stewardship. Okay, I want to stop right there before I go further, and I just want to confirm some of the underlying assumptions here and see if we can pull this up. Yeah, I'm going to bring the text of the Newberry Interlinear, which is the majority text, closest to the Textus Receptus. We're looking at 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 4. Okay. Yes, you are exactly right. So we bring up the Greek here. Nor to give heed to fables, genealogies, interminable genealogies interminable, which questionings bring rather, it's an interlinear, it's not in order, than administration, oikonomion. Administration is what Newberry put in there. God's administration, which is in faith. Oikonomion. Oikonomion is typically dispensation. I want to bring up another search here and bring it up for you. Here's the times we have that Greek word. It's all Greek to you, right? We have that Greek word in that particular case tense mood. I think, can I put it? No, not that one. Maybe this one. There we go. I don't know how to close out that middle one, but that far one on the right, but let's just go with these two. So we bring up the English. So the Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. 1 Corinthians 9:17, a dispensation. Ephesians 1:10, dispensation. Ephesians 3:2, dispensation. Colossians 1:25, dispensation. 1 Timothy 1:4, godly edifying, which is in faith. So do. Now, let's read that as dispensation. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies which minister questions, rather than godly dispensation which is in faith. So do. Now, what we've got is absolutely, these are, let's look at the Greek here. Oikonomion, spelled exactly the same all the way through. There's no difference whatsoever. It's the same tense, voice, mood. That I can say, yes, that is very reliable. So, of these, however many times there are on there, 6 times, of the 6 times you've got it in that tense, voice, mood, 4 times it's dispensation, 1 time it's stewardship. We can understand that. Edifying seems to be an outlier. What in the world is going on with edifying? Let's continue to dig into this and see. To do this, one of the things I would like to do is to bring up a text comparison. In some of the other translations, I want to see if there is a consistency in the other translations, or if they are random all over the place. The other translations are allergic to the word dispensation, so we know they're not going to use it. But let's see. So godly edifying is the part we're looking for here. I know it's small letters. My apologies here. The furthering of the administration. Now that we can almost a little more say, oh, okay, that sounds right to me. The administration, the stewardship, that's what King James went with in the Luke passage. The advancing of God's work. That seems awfully NIV-ish. The net, God's redemptive plan that operates by faith. That's sort of oikonomia, but it's awfully, it's not a translation. It's a lot of interpretation given there. NLT, don't help people, things that don't help people live a life of faith. NLT just really added to it. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. God's plan which operates by faith. So we've got some, let's say, dispensational thoughts here. Let's go with more dispensational thoughts in the modern version than in King James, which is the dispensational Bible. Edifying. How do you get edifying out of oikonomia? Here's how. Let's take the English word edifying first. To edify is to build up in English, but comes from Latin. In Spanish, and there's probably something very similar in most Latin languages, a building, the word for building is edificio, edificio. So that building up kind of concept that we get from edification is actually, it's used a little more, I'll say, metaphorically, we build something up. In the English, we wouldn't say, what career are you in? I'm in the edifying career. That would mean, like you're Tony Robbins or something, go get him, Tiger. Zig Ziglar, edifying. But in Latin languages, it would be more like, I take 2x4s and I put them together and I make buildings. Edifying, edifying. So the Latin has a lot more of the concept of building up. Now, why do they have that concept of building up? In the Latin, let's go back to the word oikonomion. Now, it's from two roots, oikos and nomos. Oikos is a house. The nomos part is law, the house law. Now, we often get things like, a dispensation is, hey, this is the house law during that time. It's the administration. Right now, the House law in the White House is Trump. He's the administration. The Trump administration is the Trump House law, the Trump dispensation, you could even call it. So why did they go with edifying, building up this particular house? Even in the rule, the nomos is by faith. The rule is by faith. Come back over here. Rather than godly edifying. Now, I think two things. Let's see. One is we want to go back and see what edifying meant in 1611. But also, let's get back and check. I'm trying. There's another thing I'm not sure why they went with, and that is godly. Godly is an adverb, and yet, if you look at the Greek, there's no adverb there. In the Greek, here we go. The administration gods. Now, notice this 1 and 2 right here. The interlinear put that in there to say, read this first and this second, rather than God's administration. It's in the genitive, So it's the one that belongs to God. Now, could we possibly call that godly? It's a godly administration. It's God's administration. Maybe so. I can see how they got edification with the oikos idea and the edificio idea. An oikos into Latin becomes an edificio. So I'm suspecting maybe there's something here in the 1611 version of English. Let's check this out. Let me say, by the way, here a little bit of my own journey. I, in the past, a long time ago, would have said, it's obvious the King James got this wrong. Now, I have some of us learn slowly, but at least we learn, right? This was in my days of transitioning from NASB to King James. And I would look every now and then, find a place like that. Oh, the King James got it wrong. What I found is, after I studied more and more and more, I came to the conclusion that, whoa, they brilliantly got it right. It was such a nuance that I didn't know about it in my third grade Greek. But you get up to senior Greek and whoa, there it is. Now, is that the case here? I'm not willing to say that yet. I don't know. I haven't done the study. But I would be, let me say that the opposite way. I would be very surprised if we find out that godly edification is a bad translation. In fact, I suspect we will find, if we can dig deep enough into it, that godly edification is actually the far better translation than talking about a stewardship. Now, we almost would like to have this be the administration of faith. Let's go back here. So don't give heed to fables, endless genealogies, which minister questions, rather than giving heed to God's dispensation, which is in faith. I think the challenge is going to be, what dispensation is that? I'm teaching dispensations right now on Sunday morning. I'm not done, but I don't know which dispensation would I call the dispensation of faith. I know we kind of, it's the one we're in. But why did Cain get in trouble? Because Abel brought his sacrifice in faith. Cain didn't. Abraham believed, and it was counted unto him as righteousness. I could find you dozens easily of passages in the law which says you better do this law in faith. And we're going to get to the same when we get to, say, the tribulation, even the millennium. So the dispensation of faith, I'm wondering if the King James translators didn't say there is no such thing. There's always been faith. This is where the evangelicals sort of, they're half right on what, it's always been the same. Well, if you're talking about faith, there has always, without faith, it's impossible to please God. I paraphrase that from Hebrews. So can it be talking about a dispensation when that doesn't narrow down to anything? It would become a nothing statement. I think there's an underlying theological thing that says we have got to go with this oikos edificio kind of concept here, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And then I also suspect that we could get into classical Greek and look at oikonomia and find that sometimes it does have to do with building, in the sense like Paul. Let's look at dispensations this way. There's the There's the Edenic building over here. Now, over here on our campus, we've got the patriarchal building, and then over here's the Mosaic building, and right here we've got the Paul's proprietary program is held in the Paul building. So you can take oikonomia in that building sense, edifying sense. Okay, does Middle English help us out at all? Let's look and see. After I log in, for some reason, if any of you work for Oxford University Press, tell them sorry, I couldn't put in my password without stopping. Tell them, ever since you updated, you have to log in every single time you go. We don't like this. Just pass that word on, would you? Now that I'm logged in, let's go to, we'll say edifying, though that may send us back somewhere. So we've got a verb. Let's see here. What do we want to have? Administration it's actually a noun. Okay, so we want the noun form of edifying. The action or process, this is a noun, which is an action, okay. The action or process of building. Also, concrete a building. I suspect that is, concrete is with something solid. I don't know what crete is, but con is with. Now, obsolete. Okay. So, there you go. It is now obsolete. But this building, edifying, is God's building of faith. Let's see what else we've got here. Spiritual instruction or improvement. That's more the way we would take it, and that's it. Okay. So I think we probably go in right here. The action or process of building. Now, what we would have to do, and this is where I wish the King James translators had made meticulous notes on everything they did. They didn't, or at least we don't have them. I think there probably was a discussion. You know what? There is no dispensation of faith. We've got another English word, which is, we don't use it much this way, but it is about designing and building a particular kind of building. Build this thing up, which is of faith, edifying. Since this can't really be talking about a dispensation, it must be this other form of it. Now, I suspect they also went in and said, and look here to our classic Greek, we find that edifying or oikonomia is used as edifying in these number of different places here. Let's see. I'm going to pull up. Oh, that's interesting. Scratch everything I just said. Not exactly. There is a little textual difference here. I was looking in the Newberry. Even remember when I said it, I said the Newberry is the closest we have to the Textus Receptus. Let me pull up this screen for you here. On the right side, I've got the King James. I put it in Greek when I was doing the Timothy study. Now notice edifying down at the bottom. See that little pop-up that's coming there? There we go. Go all the way to the left of that pop-up. It says oikodomia. Oikodomia. Instead of oikonomia. Now, even Newberry went with oikonomia. What were they doing here? This could be, it would be a great case if we could figure it out. Now, here's the challenge. Honestly, it's probably going to take. I'm gonna go. I may be wrong here. The internet's a big world now, but it would take 4 weeks in England at the British Library, at the Oxford Library, at the Cambridge Library, and I'll go with $10,000 to research this thoroughly, to say, turns out oikodomia is the proper word instead of oikonomia. But if we could figure that out, it would be a huge case for the King James only movement. Somebody in the King James only movement ought to find them a researcher and pay the bills. Because what it would show is, guess what? We're the only Bible that translated off the right word, oikodomia. Now, oikos is still house. Domos, oikodomia, a domos is a roof. A house with a roof. A house with a roof is an edificio. It's a building. So rather than, coming back over here, the godly building up the thing all the way from the foundations all the way up to the roof, we have a word for that. It's edifying, which is in faith. So do. So, I think there's a case, oikonomia, oikodomia, very similar, but they are different. But I think there's a case to look at this and say, okay, we can take oikonomia, but now that I've gone through it, let me back up. I think there's a case to say oikonomia. I can see how you can get edifying out of that. It's a long journey, but you can get it. And especially if you say, this doesn't work. But if we could go back to the King James and sit in the King James room there and watch them, I think they would say, oh, look, we've got these other texts over here that are oikodomia. Oikonomia doesn't even work. Oikonomia doesn't work because there is no dispensation of faith. So we've got, so I'll go ahead and put my Reese's Big Cup on the line here. I've been using this for lots of things here other than eating. So I keep it in the drawer so I forget about it. I'll put my Reese's Big Cup on the line to say Blue Letter Bible is probably built on the Newberry Interlinear. The Newberry Interlinear is different than the Textus Receptus. Why? We'd have to dig into it and figure that out. But I suspect there's a great reason for it. Now, Charles, good study. Let me Charles does go on to say, further, though edifying sounds like a verb preceded by an adverb, godly in the English translation, it's actually an accusative noun, koinonia is what we thought, modified by a genitive noun, theos, not a verbal at all. You know, so it's definitely a noun, but edifying, weirdly, edifying doesn't sound like a noun, but you're right, edifying is a noun. We saw that in the Oxford English Dictionary. Can godly be a noun? I suppose so. That, let's see, how godly? I don't, that is, let's check if there is a noun form of, okay, yeah. Oxford English, it hasn't logged me out yet. Godly, adjective and noun. So there is a noun. So once again, it's one of these things. On the surface, it so many times looks like KJV got it wrong. They just got it wrong. See, it's not an inerrant translation. They got it wrong. But in the end, what you find out is, I think they got it right. I suspect they got it right. I want to look at one more thing in a book that we publish here. If I can pull it up here. Yeah. And see if I can find a, what was that? 1 Timothy 1:4. See that. Let me see if there's an index in this book. I don't think there is. Index. How about that? I'm just the publisher. What do I know? But it's not a scriptural index. So I'm gonna try the. I don't think this will work. What I was working on, and I'll just it'll take me a little while to do it because I didn't find it in the quickest search. But we've got this book. It's actually through Trust House Publishers, which is what we use to publish. We'll publish good books that either don't fit our dispensational perspective, but they're about something that's unrelated. Or more often, Trust House Publishers is books that we either don't have time or interest in editing and going through and so we do this book, The Certainty of Words, 2nd edition. Kyle Stevens had already done the 1st edition, and he went to 2nd edition, and so we did this for him. And it is a strong King James only book, but it's got some really some good articles. I mean, good topics here. Now he argues in samples are not examples. I haven't bought the argument yet. I think in samples are examples. And Brian Ross argues just the opposite of this. So it's kind of interesting to read and compare the two. I'm not scared of two guys disagreeing with one another. I don't come from the perspective that says if they disagree, one of them is evil and of the devil and Mark can avoid them, and the other is the saint pure as the driven snow. That's stupid. Take both arguments and look at them. But I don't think he addresses 1 Timothy 1:4. I was going to see. Okay. Anyway. So we've got, let me Get down here. This is where my question comes in. I just put it first. This blew me away, since in context it's positioned against all the false teaching of the time and place, and the verb for Timothy to charge the false teachers and not to give heed or entertain. Yeah, okay. It says it hits home because I nurtured a small group of evangelical Baptist churches in which discipleship is reduced to a creedal study of a number of lesson books. We should publish that. That's a good statement. This text begs the question: what is true discipleship? Evangelical creedal teaching, or teaching of the dispensation of Theos? Oh, you've already answered that question so many times. He says, thank you. Charlie B. used to be in Tennessee. How about that? Thanks, Charlie B. I spent a lot of time on that, but we had to dig. We had to figure that out. I don't know if we needed the foghorn for that or not, but some who are not accustomed to the language issues. Let me say, I'll conclude. We dispensationalists, especially right dividers, would just almost be thrilled for this to be, rather than teaching the dispensation of the grace of God. Not those fables and endless genealogies like the covenant theologians teach, but the dispensation of the grace of God. But maybe the King James is the only one that said, wait a minute. That could boil it down to being creedal. You teach this right division creed, and therefore that's discipleship. When they said, first of all, there is no dispensation of faith. All of them are that. And second, we've got these other texts. Which ones are they? That's what we want to find out. That are the received texts. Here it would be interesting to go back to do a quick search for me, Batman, and see if I need to write down a list of things. I got Snerdley, I got Watson, I got Batman. Oh, you're Robin. Yeah, I got that mixed up. No, you're not going to be Batman. That's my job. So, Robin, go do some work on this. That's why I need a list, see. Y'all help me with the list of things I can call Luca. I've already got quite a long list of things I call you sometimes. But what I want to know, Bishop's Bible, Geneva Bible, Wycliffe Bible, let's just say pre-King James Version English Bibles, 1 Timothy 1:4, do they use the word edifying or similar, or do they use the word administration or similar? It's a long question for you to look up, and you can get back to us. We've got 10 minutes of the program, so do a little research. Thank you, Charlie B. Used to be in Tennessee. Glad you're here. That was that was fun. I like that. Okay, very good. Let's go back. I need to clean up my box here. My inbox has got a bunch of stuff in my way. Sorry about that. Let's go to Miguel. I'm going to come back to you. But I've had the old Christian curmudgeon in Tennessee sitting for a couple days. He says, Happy National Curmudgeon Day, January 29th is a special day for me. And I think we should pause to commemorate, celebrate, and perhaps even regret the curmudgeon in our lives, their contributions to history, plus ponder their pernicious personal peculiarities. With each year's passing, like a ring on a tree, I add another furrow to my brow. Question. Was yesterday really National Curmudgeon Day? Or did you just make all that up? Here's the question. Do you think the people to whom Jesus told, "Go and sin no more," sinned no more? I know he told the woman caught in adultery to that. Let's the easiest thing would just be a simple search, go and sin no more, that search that phrase. But I'm afraid, it might be worded just a little bit different. Yeah, okay, there certainly are others. Yeah. John 5:14, the man healed at the pool of Bethesda, he just says, "Sin no more." And the woman caught in adultery, "Go and sin no more." Now, are there others? Maybe so, but there's two anyway. So the man healed at the pool of Bethesda actually did go and sin. John 5:14, "Sin no more, lest a worse thing come to thee. The man departed and told the Jews it was Jesus which made him whole." Now, this, just in that verse right there, I mean, it sounds like wonderful evangelism. But what it is snitching because of the context in it. The Jews is the Jewish leadership here. And that's almost always true in the Gospel of John when it says the Jews. It's a leadership kind of issue. That it was Jesus that made him whole. Therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus. Again, the leadership. So I think that this man knew what would happen if he tells them it's Jesus. So they sought to persecute Jesus, sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath. By the way, that's not a breaking of the law to heal this man on the Sabbath. Even Jesus says, and they didn't argue with him, if your ox is in the ditch, life is more important. Life and health are more important than these other laws. They just wanted to use this against him. The Jews sought more to kill him because not only had he broken the Sabbath, in their view, but also said that God was his father, making himself equal to God. Well, that's exactly who he is. So what you could argue anyway, that the man healed at the pool of Bethesda went and sinned more. Almost lickety-split. The woman at the well, we don't have, obviously, any follow-up or any context there to know. But, did she cease her adultery? I'll go with maybe, maybe not. I want to say, yeah, I hope so. Surely she did. But there have been a lot of people that have been given grace and then spit on it, like the man at the pool of Bethesda, if we're interpreting that correctly. So I think we're going to have to leave that as, I don't know. But nonetheless, it's a good thing to say, isn't it? And not just, I don't mean that, kind of verbally. It's like, top of the morning to you. But that is what they needed to do. Did they? In the John passage, it's interesting that Jesus almost seems to suspect he's not going to. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. Wouldn't it be interesting to know the rest of the story there? You know, if we were doing a stupid TV series or something on the Gospels, we could just make something up there and put it in and have the answer. But since we're not doing a stupid TV series, I guess we have to go with what we know and say, I'm not going to make the Bible say more than the Bible actually says. We'll leave it at that. Did we find out what pre-King James versions say?
The Wycliffe and Bishop's Bible use edification or edifying.
Okay.
And Geneva and several others use building of God or God's building.
Okay. So Wycliffe and Tyndale, did you say? Bishops. Wycliffe and bishops. And remember, bishops, one of the rules of the King James translators was, if bishops has it right, go with it. But the Reverend Dr. Wycliffe, you know, whom we honor and adore, he said edifying. That means he made the same determination on the text. The bishop's Bible, which has some merit to it, they said edifying. And then Geneva and what's the other one? Tyndale. Both of those said God's building. That is much more likely oikodomia than oikonomios. So here's what I think we would find on that $10,000 research project, is that only somewhere after the King James, did oikonomia become the acceptable word there. That there was an argument for oikodomia. What was that argument? It'd be very fascinating to know. On that. You know, it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Let me open the Net Bible. You know, my least favorite. History's greatest academic flub. First Timothy 1:4. The reason I'm going to this is because they have notes that talk about, because they are textual critics, scholars, and they know everything about textual criticism, which is throw away those texts, use this because we are the experts. They have notes that talk about some of the word changes there. Let's just see what they have to say about, rather than God's redemptive plan. 7 right here. A few Western manuscripts read oikodomene, God's edification, rather than oikonomia, God's redemptive plan, which is read by the earliest and best. That's all they tell you. This is the bankruptcy, utter academic bankruptcy of textual criticism. Is they always say, we got something. Some things say something different. Which ones? What are these few? Okay, they call it there the what is it? The D hyphen and the Latler. That, I don't know, you can't read it. That little thing right there, you know, all of these. Textual criticism does this more than anybody. They want code language that's going to take you a long time to ever get in and see what this is. Do they say, when they say a few Western manuscripts, why don't they at least come out and say every single English translation we have prior to this date uses oikodomene? Who decided those were not the earliest and the best? And what is the earliest and best? Now Newberry chooses, he's more majority text, so there must be a lot of them out there with oikonomos. But it was rejected by every Bible translator, and these are smart enough guys. It's not like they didn't have majority text. No, they hadn't found the fake Codex Sinaiticus yet. But they had plenty of other texts with oikonomos. I know that because it's in the Newberry, and that's the majority text. Some reason they chose the minority. What was it? Well, because they're wrong. See, these guys, they don't think this through. They don't give an argument. They're bankrupt. It's my word to you. Well, I went a long time on that question today, but nonetheless, it is fun. I think that we would find, as Gerard says there, I just thumbed down, the Textus Receptus is still final authority in the Greek tongue. And we would find, hey, the Textus Receptus actually had unbelievably robust, good thinking behind it. So, all fun. Now I've got, let's see, Pastor Timothy. He's got a word on this. Let's pick that up tomorrow from Adam Clark on this oikodomene. We've got, Rhonda, an associated thing. We'll get on that too. Tim, an Acts 6:7 question. Arthur, a Genesis verses 1 and 2 gap theory question. Got a couple questions that, 2 or 3 questions that are not, don't have names. Manny's got a James 2:19. Boy, am I behind. I got a bunch of these. And I got a question from Brock that was enough. No, Miguel. Okay, I'm starting in the morning with Miguel. I'm going to pick up Miguel and Brock. And some of these no names, and Manny and Arthur and Tim and Rhonda, and oh my, we got a busy day tomorrow, don't we? We'll do it. We will accomplish this. But tonight, do join me at 7 p.m. for the Proverbs. I think it's going to be an exciting time, trying to finally figure out the Proverbs. You know, we are probably not. We might. I hesitate to say. Are we going to go through every single proverb? Maybe, maybe not. Let's let the jury be out on that one still. But I think the more important thing is we understand what we're dealing with in the Proverbs, and then we can make them work. Every one of them. I'm just convinced, and I'll say this tonight, I'm sure, Proverbs can't be a book which has a lot of stuff that's sometimes true, which is what they all present it as. They always immediately apologize for the book of Proverbs when you open up their commentaries. I may find some samples today. Open up their commentaries, and the first thing they say, well, remember, it's not promises. Okay, it's a bunch of stuff that's sometimes true. Do we really need that in the biblical canon? A bunch of stuff that's sometimes true? We could go with Rudyard Kipling. Stick that in the canon. Okay. Enough of that. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to tonight, 7 p.m. And we'll get those links made here in a couple hours or so and be ready to go, and look forward to, again, seeing you. And if not tonight, you can catch that archived as well. And then we will also see you tomorrow for Ask the Theologian. God bless you. Thank you very much for being here today. Go to askthetheologian.com. Put in your question, which we probably won't get to till next week. But I appreciate you. See you tomorrow. If not tonight, God bless you.